Welcome, my friends. My name's Mrs. Hawkins, and I am going to go through unit rates with you. It's one of my favorite things that I used to teach when I taught seventh grade. And so I have the privilege of being the one to walk you through it. So I'm super excited. There's a lot of information on your screen, but I want you to pay attention to the fact that I've already split my screen so that my PowerPoint is on the left and my calculator is on the right. First thing you always want when you're working in math is to grab that calculator. It is a tool that lets your brain focus on problem solving instead of calculating, and we want that to be our focus. So make sure you've got your calculator open. This is the scientific calculator, the Desmos scientific calculator. It's the exact same calculator your course teachers use when they're going over lessons with you. It is also the exact same calculator that the Atlas test has. So whenever you click that calculator button in the Atlas test, this calculator is the one that pops up. So we're going to be talking about unit rates. You can see your standard on the screen, and then you can see your learning intention and success criteria. At the very bottom, this is the IXL skill practice that we're going to be looking at. So calculating unit rates with fractions, that is IXL skill practice 57X. And this counts as your time for flex. So if you are looking to make sure you're getting your minutes in, working on this IXL skill practice does count. So just know that. On the right-hand side, we have our ARVA Shine document and our social contract. Since we're not in a face-to-face live session, we're not going to pick a focus in the social contract because we're not being super social right now. But we are going to focus on one of these Shine characteristics. And the one we're going to use, or the one that we're going to focus on, I should say, is this one right here. This is almost always the one I choose. And then if you had me when I was still in seventh grade with some of my friends, this is the one that I would always focus on. And I'd give you that fancy word, grit. We talk a lot about grit. And grit is just the idea that we do stick with things and show perseverance. It means not giving up when things get hard. Because remember, productive struggle is one of the best ways that our brain learns. So when things are hard, we learn them better. They stick in our brains longer, and often we're a lot more satisfied about that learning process if we had to put in the effort to get there. So don't be afraid when things are hard. Just know that we're going to be gritty, we're going to get through it, and we're going to learn something new. So what we're going to do together is we're going to talk about unit rates. We're going to do some practice problems. This video is going to last about 10 more minutes, and then you'll leave this video and go practice in IXL independently on the skill practice. There's plenty of opportunities during this video, though, for you to pause and practice before hitting play to see how to get the answer. So don't feel like you need to sit here and watch this video through. When I say pause the video and try this problem, I really encourage that you do that. So make sure you have some scratch paper too. So let's talk about our learning intention. Today, our learning intention is that we are learning to calculate unit rates in real-world situations, including when ratios involve complex fractions. That's what we're focused on. And I want you to take a second to read these success criteria. So pause your video, pause this video, read these success criteria, and then hit play when you're ready. So let's talk about ratios and unit rates. A unit rate is a ratio that compares two measurements, the units, and the second measurement is 1 per something. And that's just a fancy way of saying when you're driving in your car and you check to see how fast you're going, we think about that in terms of miles per hour. How many miles am I going to travel if I continue at this speed per 1 hour? If I'm going 60 miles an hour, then in 1 hour, how many miles will I have traveled? 60 miles. Blinks per second. I'm not sure what the average unit rate. I don't know what the average unit rate of blinks per second is. That might be something cool to Google. But that's telling you how many times you blink your eyes per second. In 1 second, how many times does a person blink their eyes? Calories per serving. How many calories per 1 serving? Steps per day. How many steps per 1 day? The second unit is always 1. 1 day, 1 serving, 1 second, 1 hour. It is only a unit rate, which is a special ratio. It is only a unit rate if that second value is 1 per something. So let's talk about that a little closer. So we just talked about how a ratio is something that compares two quantities with different units, but that a unit rate is a special ratio because it has a 1 as a denominator. It means that second, you'll see it written like this a lot, miles per hour. It means the second. This would be your denominator. So you could write these as fractions, miles per 1 hour, blinks per 1 second. When you see that word per, that's giving you an indicator, hey, that's where your fraction bar goes. Calories per 1 serving, steps per 1 day. And in this example, we have 24 pencils that cost a person $1.20, and we're trying to figure out the unit rate. So we're going to set that up as a fraction. So 120 per 24 pencils. And then to get a unit rate, we have to get that denominator to be 1. Well, anytime you divide something by itself, it's just 1. 24 divided by 24 is 1. And if we're looking at a fraction, if I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top to keep it equivalent. So I'm also going to divide 1.20 by 24, never in my head. And if I do it in my head, I'm still going to check on my calculator. Is 0.5, or excuse me, 0.05. So 0.05 per 1 pencil. That's 5 cents per pencil. So for every pencil, it cost 5 cents. You can also flip that in terms of pencils per dollar. So price per pencil, 5 cents per pencil. But how many pencils if I have $1? If I give you $1, how many pencils are you going to give me? Well, I had 24 per $1.20. I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 120 because I want that bottom to be 1, and anything divided by itself is 1. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 120, and I end up with 20 pencils per $1. So I get 20 pencils if I give you $1. That's what we're doing. Rates and ratios are primarily just fancy fractions that tell us something. They have context behind them. Here's your passcode for the video, 4687. So when you do your exit ticket and it says, hey, what was the passcode? This is your passcode. Let's go ahead and dive into some of those IXL questions. Before we do that, let's talk about the IXL screen. So this is your IXL skill practice 5-7X. So we're looking at 5-7X. When you get in here, there's a couple things that you need to pay attention to. The first thing you need to pay attention to is this right here. This SMART score is telling you how you are being successful with this skill. It's specifically about this skill. And if you have a SMART score of 80, that means you know enough about that skill to use it. Your goal is always to have a SMART score of 80. If you have a SMART score of 100, it means, hey, not only do you know enough about this to use it, but you know so much about this, you could probably teach it to somebody else if you wanted. So our goal is 80, but anything between 80 and 100 is something we should be proud of, because that's what we're shooting for, is a SMART score of 80 or higher, and it goes from 80 to 100. The next thing I'm going to point out is down here at the bottom. If you are really struggling with an IXL skill practice for math, there's all kinds of built-in supports. There is other practice from skills that you need to be able to do before you can do these. We call those foundational skills. So these are foundational skill practices. There's also lessons that'll step by step you through how to do this skill, along with some foundational skill practice that you may need to get here. So if you ever open up an iExcel skill practice and you are struggling, if you get more than 2 or 3 problems incorrect in a row, you need to be taking advantage of these, especially any lessons that are down here. And you need to make sure that you are learning with the example. So clicking on this will give you a step-by-step process for how to solve these problems. This is a really great thing to copy into your math notes. And also there is a video that will teach you step-by-step in a video how to solve these problems. So you have a ton of built-in support. Do not sit there and get question after question incorrect. If you're getting more than a couple questions incorrect, it means you're missing something. You need to stop attempting to solve problems, and you need to come up here and watch these videos, learn with an example, check out the lesson that might be tied at the bottom, then reapproach. That's part of being gritty. That's part of being gritty, is looking for those extra resources. And if this is still not helping you and you need face-to-face help, reach out to your math teacher. Reach out to your math teacher, bring them example problems, bring them a screenshot of a problem and how you have attempted to solve it. They will help you. So don't be afraid to ask for help either if you've taken advantage of these resources that are built in for you. All right, let me erase and let's practice a problem together. There we go. I fixed it so that I could blow it up bigger, make it a little easier for you to see. This is a level 1 question. This is the first level of this type of question, and there are 3 levels that get progressively, I don't want to say harder, because harder is not the right word, but they progressively require more thinking to get the answer. So there's more steps or more complicated math, but we're going to look at all of those in a second. You're going to see how these questions change as we go through levels, but this is the first level question. Go ahead and pause your screen and try this problem. All right, so Shelly's cup of tea cooled down 1/2 of a degree in 10 seconds. At what rate is her tea cooling down? Simplify your answer and write it as a proper fraction, mixed number, or whole number, degrees per second. So when I create my unit rate, I know that a unit rate is a special ratio that is per 1 of something. So per 1 of something, and I want degrees per second. So it's per 1 second degrees per 1 second. I'm trying to figure out this number right here, but I already know that 1 second is going to be at the denominator of my fraction. So something per 1 second. Well, we know that Shelly's cup of tea cooled down 1/2 of a degree in 10 seconds. So 1/2 of a degree per 10 seconds. And I know that I need the bottom to be just 1 second. What can I do to the number 10? What kind of math can I do to the number 10 to convert it to a 1? Well, anything divided by itself is a 1. So if I divide the bottom by 10, 10 divided by 10 is 1. And you can check that on the calculator over here, and I will go ahead and do that. But anything divided by itself is just 1. To keep this fraction equivalent, anything I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So I have 1/2 divided by 10. 1/2 divided by 10. So I'm going to come over here. I have 1/2 divided by 10. Take a second and look at that, because the way you put in division in your Desmos calculator is as a fraction. So this is 1/2 in the numerator divided by 10, divided by the denominator, which is 10. 1/2 divided by 10 is 0.05, and this was degrees. So my answer is 0.05 degrees per 1 second. And I'm going to convert that to be written. I'm just going to show my answer as this 0.05 degrees per, I'm out of room, so it's just SEC for second, 0.05 per second. So the answer to this one, the answer that goes in this box is 0.05. All right, here's your next question. You'll notice that once you hit level 2, you're at a SMART score of 28. So about a SMART score of 28 is where you're going to hit that level 2. Take a second and try this problem, and then come back after you've attempted it. I am going to blow it up a little bigger for us. All right, so go ahead and pause and attempt this problem. Alrighty, my friends. So sound can travel incredibly quickly. 1 mile in about 1/12 of a minute. Based on that, what is the approximate speed of sound? Simplify your answer and write it as a proper fraction, mixed number, or whole number. Something miles per minute. So I know right off the bat, I'm always going to set this up where it's miles per 1 minute. I'm always writing that on my scratch paper, not necessarily because I have to, but because that lets me check my work, because I know my answer, when I get my answer, needs to be miles per 1 minute. I've been given information to use, and that is that sound travels 1 mile in about 1/2 of a minute. So 1 mile per I said 1/2, I meant 1/12. So 1 mile per 1/12 minute. Cannot spell. We're going to pretend like that says the word minute. 1 mile per 1/12 of a minute. How do I get it so that it is 1 minute in the denominator? Anything divided by itself is 1. So 1/12 divided by 1/12 is going to equal 1 minute. If I do it to the bottom, I have to do it to the top to keep it equivalent. So I have 1 divided by 1/12. Not doing that in my head. I'm going to come over here to my calculator. I have 1 divided by 1/12 is equal to 12. So there are 12 miles per 1 minute, 12 miles per 1 minute. That's why I write it down, because now I know I'm done. I know I have my answer because this is the format that I needed it in. 12 miles per 1 minute is the same thing if I write it out as 12 miles per minute. I'm not going to write that 1 anymore because mathematicians are lazy and we don't have to write it there, so we're not going to. So 12 miles per minute, my answer is 12. There's only one more question to look at. Here it is. Go ahead and take a chance on this one, or take a try. This is your level 3. Once you hit the level 3, you've got a SMART score of 81 or higher. So once you hit that level 3, you have met your SMART goal. There we go. You've met your SMART goal. You've met that grading expectation, I believe. I don't actually want to quote myself there, but I do know that that is one of the levels for getting the most points, is having that SMART score of 80 or higher. So once you hit level 3, you've met that. Go ahead and pause, attempt this problem, then we'll look at it together. There we go. So this morning the temperature rose 2 degrees in 2/3 of an hour. At what rate did the temperature rise? Simplify your answer. Blah, 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 blah. Something degrees per hour. So my answer, when I get it, is going to be some amount of degrees per 1 hour. The information from our word problem tells me that the temperature rose 2 degrees in 2/3 of an hour. So 2 degrees per 2/3 of an hour. I need to get my hour to be 1. Anything divided by itself is 1. But if I'm keeping it equivalent, I know I need to do the top and bottom. I need to multiply or divide the top and bottom by the same amount. So I need to figure out what is 2 divided by 2/3, which is 3. So I have 3 degrees per, and then I need to figure out what is, well, I don't actually, because 2/3 divided by 2/3 is 1. That's why I divided by 2/3. But you can see I've proven that on my calculator now. 1 hour. So I have 3 degrees per 1 hour. I'm done. That's the end of my problem. I can reword this in this format. So I've got 3 degrees per, I'm not going to write the 1 hour. So my answer to this one is 3. There we go, my friends. Once you've gone through this video, make sure that you go in to do your practice and make sure that you complete your exit ticket. That exit ticket's linked in the description of the task on your calendar. Y'all have a great day.